What up, perps? Kid Copious back in effect. Purple State Party. You know what we're doing here? We're repping America, the center, common sense. And May is Mental Health Awareness Month. Finally, something for everybody, something truly inclusive. Our fucked up human brains. Yeah, I've got one. I know a lot of you got one. And you know, we just muddle through each day, one day at a time. It sounds cliche, but that's the only way to make it, man. Sometimes you got to slip into the mud and just accept, you're going to be sad for a while. And, work towards fixing your life. That's what worked for me, man. I wish there was a magic pill or a magic saying. But really, good mental health, it's hard work. So get to work and let's get this show popping. All right, well, since it's Mental Health Month, let's talk about some of this craziness that's going on. Legendary Bronco here. I need their vote to save democracy. He's giving student loan forgiveness to people holding signs like Death to America. Yeah, we're seeing that all over the college campuses. But you don't want to know something? The sad part is that a lot of those people are simply entitled kids whose parents paid for these elite universities out of their couch fund, the change they found between the pillows. I think the average student out there, the ones that are putting in the work, they should be commended. Unfortunately, fuckwads like these types of people really spoil it. We're going to get more into that, but, that's kind of the theme of this is, what politicians will say or support just to get votes, just to get the votes, even when it doesn't make sense. And a lot of these people out there who are protesting, like that lady with the BLM right next to the guy with the anti-Israel, this whole idea that's going on right now in America that Christians are bad and Muslims are good. It's just a crazy way of thinking. It really is. I'm not saying that all Muslims are bad, but right now we certainly have a problem with some of the fundamentalists, some of the hardcore Muslims that are out there. It's not like their countries are very inclusive. It's not like their countries strive to be like these protesters. Let's move on. Some good news, maybe. Looks like the DEA is going to reclassify marijuana. It's kind of funny they're going to classify marijuana class 3, which puts it in with steroids and ketamine, which I can kind of see because both ketamine and steroids do have their medical use, but it is weird thinking that on a tier, marijuana sits right next to ketamine and steroids, I don't know. It's crazy, man. But here in California, it's been legal for a long time. But, mental health, man, weed has a great effect on your mental health. It can give you that pause. Yeah, overuse can lead to harm, but responsible, well thought out usage of pot, it just, for me, it just turns off the switch on the day, and I can just zone out and I can just think about good things and, have a few laughs. Speaking of a few laughs, Kristi, Noem, Babylon B here. I'm sorry I have to do this, says Kristi, Noem, pumping shotgun after puppy playfully barks at mailman. That's not really the reality of it. I get where she's coming from, I have some farming in my background. So I understand that sometimes on a farm you deal with stuff on your own. I just don't understand why she kind of phrases things the way she did. And now that I'm hearing rumors that she may have lied in her book, it's very frustrating because I would like to see a strong conservative-minded woman run this country. I think it's time. I mean, we've tried other variations on white men. And, about time for women to do it. I don't really want to see any of this new crop of neo-Marxist lefties in there. And Kristi Noem seems like a good candidate. Tweak a few of her policies and we're golden. The one thing that really bothers me, I have the hardest time with, is hypocrisy. I think hypocrisy should be one of the most important attributes that we look at, whether a politician, a person, a policy, anything like that is hypocritical. Because you have to strive to not be hypocritical. You have to live up to the ideals you preach, looking at Brobert and some of these other ones, that are out there. You have to live up to those ideals that you're putting forth. And that brings me to this one. This comes from ABC Bay Area. EPA sues San Francisco for allegedly dumping billions of gallons of sewage into Pacific Ocean and Bay. Yeah. It's been happening since 2016. 1.8 billion gallons each year of combined sewage. That includes untreated sewage, wastewater, and stormwater runoff. Now, some of them are obviously, much harder to deal with the stormwater, but untreated sewage, wastewater, is that just all the people pooping on the streets? Is that what we're seeing? But this is the hypocrisy of it. Look at this. The lawsuit also alleges that the city allowed the sewer systems to fall into disrepair and didn't notify residents about the presence of sewage, I'm assuming, in the water. But then a spokesperson comes out and says, well, the suit's unfair. Sewer discharge in the cities have been reduced by more than 80% in the last 50 years. Okay, so you're just letting less poop out? I mean, you're not doing what needs to be done, or you wouldn't be getting sued. The EPA would not be coming in and suing you. But this is the hypocrisy. Electric vehicles are going to save the environment, but yet they just pollute in different ways. And in many cases, pollute the same way. I don't want to get off on that tangent. So the college protests, it's kind of, I tried to ignore it for a while. I brought it up occasionally. But it's just the stupidest fucking thing I've ever seen. It really is. Babylon Bee sums this up. Israel withdraws from Gaza after learning of protests by 19-year-old fine arts major Roxy Barnett. Nobody's listening to these protests. These protests are only serving the bad guys, the bad actors. That's the only people that are benefiting from this. The people of Gaza are not benefiting from your protest. Okay? You're not saving the world. The only thing that is being accomplished by these protests is a bunch of entitled kids get to feel less of that white supremacy, white privilege crap that their heads have been filled with. They've been told to feel bad for who they are, and now they're looking for ways to redeem themselves. What are you doing to actually help? Nothing. You're just having the excuse for this extended camping trip on the front lawn of Columbia. You're using it as an excuse to hate Jewish people, to vandalize schools, to act like assholes, and you're not ever going to accomplish anything. Nobody's ever going to listen to you, all right? Because your ideas are fucking dumb. UCLA protesters clashed for more than 2 hours before law enforcement intervenes. Class is canceled. They're supposed to be there to get an education. And a majority of the students there are trying to get an education, but these assholes are ruining it for people. And what happened in this particular one was counter-protesters showed up, and basically there was a giant fight because people are getting sick of this. It's one thing to support the people of Palestine, but that's not what's going on. In this article, this was from LA, Channel 7. The ensuing crackdown by police on some college campuses has stirred echoes of the much larger protest movement during the Vietnam War era. Well, let me tell you something, okay? As somebody who was born during the Vietnam War, it didn't really affect me directly, but it affected a lot of people around me. And what those students were fighting for was pulling United States citizens back from a war they didn't believe in. What they're doing in Palestine is simply supporting the ruthless militant symbol of neo-Marxism in their minds, which is places, groups like Hamas. This is the same group that wears Che Guevara. Okay? They love a bad guy. All right? They love a bad guy. That's just, for whatever reason, the far left gravitates towards evil dictators who overthrow evil dictators under the social banner, but never deliver. Who are you supporting? You are supporting people who do not support you one bit. Columbia student, this is one of my favorites. Columbia student mocked for viral video telling reporters that occupiers may die without food delivery. So they were interviewing this anonymous spokesperson. And the reporter says, it seems like you're sort of saying, we want to be revolutionaries. We want to take over this building. Now, would you please bring us food and water? The spokesperson says, nobody's asking them to bring anything. We're asking them to not violently stop us from bringing in basic humanitarian aid. You're a bunch of rich college students pitching tents and taking over buildings out of college. Nobody's stopping you from going to Mickey D's. Reporter 3, they're stopping the delivery of food. Spokesperson, we are looking for a commitment from them that they will not stop it. Reporter 3, but they haven't stopped it? Spokesperson, well, I don't know to what extent it has been attempted, but we're looking for a commitment. But earlier she had said that they were weaponizing food and said the protesters were asking for a commitment from Colombia for food and water to be brought in. Nobody was stopping them. Nobody was stopping them at all. But they want to play the victim, because if they play the victim, they're no longer the entitled, spoiled, rich white kid. So the readers on X added some content. Her claims are misleading. Columbia campus dining is open. Yeah, they got all, Humanitarian aid is for saving lives in the most dire situations, violent conflict, natural disasters. The students can leave if they want. These are self-entitled narcissists. There she is. She's blocked out. And look at her friend right there. This guy, Jose. Jose sums it up. Why don't they realize how funny this is? And then homeboy in a crop top and a kafaya. Oh, wow. Look at him. He would be probably attacked, if not murdered, in Gaza for wearing an outfit like that, for showing his belly button. He would be ridiculed, assaulted, and possibly die. John Aziz here sums it up pretty well. This is the LARPiest hot garbage. They romanticize the idea of resistance, occupation, etc., and now they're demanding humanitarian aid. Motherfucker, you're in New York City studying at an elite university. You are not in Gaza. You are insulting Palestinians. They are. They really are. And as good little neo-Marxists, their camps are littered with the hammer and sickle of the Soviet Union, the anarchy sign, and lots of sayings from Hamas. But they're pretending to be revolutionaries, okay? They're pretending. We know that. There she is. There's her little crop top friend. History repeats itself like communists run out of food. These people are a fucking joke, man. And the worst part is that there are people there who are trying to get an education. Some of these people, like that guy in the back with the crop top, I don't know what it is, but it screams like he comes from some sort of Qatari rich family, some money and oil. He's never going to use his college degree. She's going to get some liberal arts degree. She's going to work as a volunteer at a shelter. I praise her for that. But all the while, she's going to be collecting her allowance from daddy. Now, I don't know that to be true. This is just a guess. All right. I don't want to, maybe she's a hardworking student who really feels passionately about this. If she is, I think she's a little bit flimsy in her thinking, because this is not serving anything. This is exactly like what we saw with the fake ass George Floyd shit, where people were protesting police brutality, but it kept leading to riots, but people kept doing the protests that led to riots. And that's what this is. So who are the protesters actually helping here? Well, according to a professor at the University of Tehran, they're helping Iran. See, Iran is the money behind all of the terror shit we see right around the world right now. They are a large portion of it. Not all of it, but they are a large portion of it. The Hamas, the Hezbollah, the Houthis, people who are firing on ships down there in the Gulf. That's Iran. Iran is our most active enemy right now. Russia's busy in Ukraine. China's trying to figure out its own economy and what to do about Taiwan. North Korea, I don't know what's going on with North Korea. Yeah, they're probably going to launch a rocket or something soon just to remind everybody but they're still there. But it is Iran that's slinging the slugs right now, man. They're the ones who are putting rockets and missiles and bombs and guns into the hands of people who are willing to go out and murder civilians. So this professor says, these American students are our people. If tensions between America and Iran rise tomorrow or the day after, these are the people who will have to take to the streets to support Iran. He went on to say that there are Hezbollah-style groups in the U.S. that are much larger than those in Lebanon. All right, well, where's the hammer of God? Because we need to bring it down on these people because we can't have this. The worst thing that we are seeing in our country right now is the end of the melting pot. We are now a salad bar. All of the ingredients in little individual boxes. We are not melting together. We are not becoming Americans. People are coming over here and remaining who they are and their allegiance is to who they were. And that is a huge problem. When you start getting so many of these radicalized Muslims into the country to the point where they are now leading protests at elite universities. Of course, they're preying on the entitled rich white people. Those are the people who feel guilty enough to buy into this shit. Professor went on to say, America is the great Satan and our main enemy, but we have hopes in those areas. And, the editor-in-chief, Lisa DeFatari, sorry if I pronounced that wrong, quite rich to see the same regime that is fixating on torturing, raping, blinding, and executing its own college students is applauding the ignorant college students on American campuses. It speaks to their focus on growing their influence outside of Iran. Yeah, Iran does not support anything that these neo-Marxists support. They are not for inclusion. They are not for gay rights. They are certainly not for trans rights. Okay, they are not for a betterment of society. They are the leaders of those countries, especially Iran, are focused on the betterment of themselves, the destruction of Israel, and the destruction of America, the great Satan. They don't care about the average citizen. All right? They don't. So you are protesting on the side of people who do not believe anything. And we know that what's going on here is bigger than just organic college students. Of the 282 protesters cuffed and hauled away during a massive NYPD operation late Tuesday, 134 of them, nearly half of them, had zero affiliation with either schools. These are our outside agitators. This is where, when people say that people are funding this is what they mean. They're paying the salaries of organizers and instigators and agitators to go there. There are companies that rent protesters. That's what they do. That's where some of this dark money goes. This dark money goes into filling these protests that spiral into riots. People are getting paid to go to these things. They are getting paid to hold up signs. They're getting paid to espouse beliefs that they don't even understand themselves. It's a script. And when all of the dust settles, Columbia leaders tell professors to adjust finals at university as university scrambles to recover from anti-Israel protests. They're literally going to give them the option of a take-home final, modifying the final's weight, adjusting the grading policy, such that the final exam does not negatively impact the final grade. Making the final exam optional or just canceling it. So they're saying these kids who have held the school hostage, who are chanting anti-Jewish, anti-Israel, and Hamas-based chants, they should get a free pass. They should get a free pass. No, you were out there, not going to class, camping on our lawn, shitting in our bushes, making us look bad. But your reward is not expulsion. No, we're going to juice We're going to nerf the final for you. That's what we're going to do. We're going to nerf the final so you'll all get A's. All your parents will be really happy, and they'll continue to fund our endowment. And you're going to tell us that we can't spend our endowment on anything connected to Israel. And we're going to play along and take a vote and tell you we're listening to you. And then we're going to spend our money where we're going to spend our money. This is a giant load of bullshit. And this is an elite university that's going to pump out people who are going to be running things. I had to include this one. Biden dropped support for pro-Palestinian protesters after realizing how bad their hair smells. Really quick here. A lot of talk about Soros and his involvement. The truth of the matter is that he does give to, or his foundations do give to organizations that do help fund terrorism. I mean, it's just the truth of the matter. But in 2007, he criticized Israel for refusing to recognize the democratically elected Hamas government. Yeah. Even though their well-advertised objective is the elimination of the Jewish state of Israel. So Israel should say, we recognize this country or these leaders as legitimate leaders who want to kill us. Why would you do that? Why? Why would you do that? Huh? Why? Notice Hamas, the Palestinian branch of the Muslim Brotherhood. Palestinian. Just because you're not a member of Hamas doesn't mean you're not radicalized in those beliefs. So yeah, he funded Palestinian-led groups along with pro-Palestinian Jewish, Christian, and Muslim organizations that promote boycott, divestment, and sanctions against Israel. So his money is going into that. Students for Justice in Palestine, the U.S. Campaign for Palestinian Rights, which are spearheading violent demonstrations on college and university campuses. His money is linked there. He is an evil son of a bitch. They sum this up by saying just how many millions of dollars Soros has directed to pro-Hamas, anti-Israel, and anti-American groups is unclear. These are merely guesstimates because the Open Society Foundations, started by Soros, are notoriously opaque. In other words, open society, not so much open books. All right? That's why it's called dark money. Gavin Newsom will head to a Vatican summit, climate summit next month. More shit on the climate. He is going to go over there after announcing that we are $73 billion short on our budget. $73 billion. Okay? That's a lot of fucking money. He's going to dump that news and he's going to fly over the Vatican for a climate summit because he's running for president. He's given up on California, much like California's given up on Newsom. And that, of course, is, he can't run again. So nobody's going to vote for him, and he already knows it. So he's going to be president. And he's going to take his ass-kissing, career politician ass to Washington, D.C. and try to change America into California. California that has some of the worst poverty, some of the worst unemployment, some of the highest cost of living, some of the most government control. That's what he wants to bring to the people of America. And the reason why it's so stupid to me is because I'm really getting tired of all this climate hysteria. The Washington Times kind of broke it down here. This was written by a geologist studying the geological record, all right? Not computer projections, actual physical records. Climate ideology ignores science and threatens humanity. Climate scientists would be less likely to issue dire warnings of planetary doom if they gave more credence to the geological history of the past several million years. Instead, they rely on computer models that are biased by the preconceptions of their manipulators and incapable of accounting for the myriad of factors affecting global temperatures. Minuscule recent warming, whatever the cause, is inconsequential in light of the record of data found in the Antarctic ice cores that goes back 800,000 years. The bottom line is the Earth is colder by nearly 3 degrees Celsius than it was 3,000 years ago. Blaring headlines about record heat waves of the past 100 years are meaningless, hysterical blather. We are still colder. We are told that we can't warm up 1 more degree, 1.5 degrees. Look at this. This is a deep dive into the geological history. Today's carbon dioxide concentrations of 420 parts per million are a fraction of past levels that reached 5,000 parts per million and more. Carbon dioxide is nearly at its lowest level ever since plant life began so many millions of years ago. And it's actually well below the optimal amount for the health of most vegetations. In the mid-19th century, it got down to 280 parts per million. At 150 parts per million, plant life dies. So what this article is talking about is that everything based on this climate hysteria, or giving credence to this climate hysteria, is BS manipulated data. Our planet has had 5,000 parts per million, God, in its past. And this is found from studying ice cores, not computer models, actual data. The public is protected from empirical data by legacy and social media censors who eagerly broadcast the supposed need to restrict global warming to 1.5 or 2 degrees Celsius, which is an artificial construct with no scientific basis. And why is this important? Because it's unwanted regulatory intrusions into daily life. Heating, air conditioning, dishwashers, stoves, increased prices, reduced availability of electricity. The effects of these range from annoying to life-threatening. We are putting ourselves in a very precarious situation with our energy. That's what we are doing. Lee sums it up. There is no climate emergency. There is, however, a widespread knowledge crisis. Look at this guy's credentials. He's the senior science emeritus at the University of Kansas, past director of the Kansas Geological Survey, member of the CO2 Coalition, retired Getty. You get the idea. This guy knows his stuff. But they're basing all of their dire warnings on computer models, not actual scientific evidence. Well, that was fun. If you liked it, how about a like, a comment, something like that? Subscribe if you want to see more of this craziness. It is Mental Health Month, and, I can laugh about my issues now, Got a tad of autism, ADHD, depression, anxiety. Plenty of people have written songs about it. And right now is a very strange time for me. When I was younger, doctors tried to figure out why I was always throwing up. They put me through batteries of tests. I was put on Ritalin. I had people show up for athletic competitions, and I just couldn't go out. I couldn't perform. And, this is, even recounting this right now, is making me very nervous. But, I was nearly 30 before I found out what was wrong with me. And, nowadays I'm glad that the discussions can be had and that people can be open about what's wrong inside their head. I don't like the fact that it's been glorified. I don't like the fact that, on the new Disney film Inside Out, they've got a character called anxiety. I'm not lying to you, talking about even that, just, it makes me feel weird inside. But I spent a lot of years in the darkness. I had no idea. I had no idea why I threw my entire life away on drugs and alcohol. And I threw my life away on drugs and alcohol. I really did. I'm nowhere near the status or whatever that I should have been. But I had no idea what was behind that. I didn't know I was self-medicating. So, fast forward to today, and worst part about it is I passed all that shit on to my daughter, and she's struggling with it, but there's a lot more help out there now. This is not a woe is me. This is just a matter of perspective. This is a POV on it. Mental health is really one of the most fundamental things that we should be working on in this country. Getting people help. I know through my daughter's struggles, it's hard for her to get an appointment with a therapist, let alone a psychiatrist. You know, if you are struggling, or if you know somebody who's struggling, you know, reach out to them, let them know that you're there for them. A lot of times for people who suffer from anxiety, just having somebody to talk to, somebody to be around, you know, get a break from their normal routine, a break from the emptiness maybe in their lives, can make a lot of difference. And really, that's what we should all be focusing in on. You know, sadly, the news thinks that it's all about Trump and Biden. But you know what? It's really all about you and me. Me, Kid Copious. I'm Purple State Party. And so are you. Love one another. Take care of your head, man. Drink lots of water. And don't be stupid. And you know, sometimes when you feel a little blue, you know what you got to do. You dance it out.